believe I have made my position on the Souls games clear enough by now. I think they're the best thing since pancakes. However, I have little else that I have any interest in talking about right now, so I guess I'm doing this. I know you're all probably sick of hearing me bring up Dark Souls every other week, I just can't help myself. But hey, it's my channel, I'm doing this. I don't think it would surprise anyone to hear that I have heard some very mixed opinions on Dark Souls 2. Of the three, it seems to be the odd one, the weak link in the Dark Souls chain, and I've definitely seen more debates between fans over its quality than the quality of the other Dark Souls titles. This was my second Souls game. This sounds obvious, I'm sure, but let's not forget my introduction to the series was with Dark Souls 3 in late 2016, and I basically worked my way backwards through the series. At first, I played it for a bit and thought it was shit. A year later, I tried it again, having tried Dark Souls Remastered and actually got through the thing. It's an odd duck, Dark Souls 2, but let's begin at the beginning so I can tell you how it all falls into place. Of course I'll begin at the beginning, that's a stupid sentence.
Perhaps you've seen it. Maybe in a dream. A murky, forgotten land.
Dark Souls 2 begins with a rather detailed opening cinematic where a lone figure is wandering through a dying world. Undead and forgetting where they are, they find their way to the kingdom of Dranlaic, I don't know how to pronounce that properly. A mysterious northern land which is said to have the cure for the undead curse, which later reconnects to the whole cycle of light and dark thing from the first game, and how you will be the one to either link the fire or extinguish it for good. Dark Souls 2 differs significantly from the other two games, and it makes that clear right out of the gate. There are quite a few design changes and I'll list them for you now. First off, you don't choose a class or appearance right away. You need to take a short walk to a house to talk to some weird old ladies before you can build your character. Secondly, there's no opening boss fight. You don't need to slay a giant demon or pus monster. It's just a ladies thing and, well, then it's sort of just a nice walk to the hub map. I heard the game was meant to be easier on the newer players this time around, and I can see this in the early game stages to a degree. There's no demon butt, no pus willy, just a gentle walk through a haunted wood without any enemies. Well, there are some, but if you leave them be, they'll leave you be. Next up on the list of changes, Estus. Now, like in the original game, you don't start with an Estus class. Don't start with an Estus flask. God, I fucked that one. I'm just going to leave that one in there. You don't start with an Estus flask for the crucial heals. No, you have to make it a ways first. Same thing in Dark Souls 2, only this time with less hostility between you and the flask, which I think is a nicer change. Again, there are enemies, you don't have to deal with them, you don't have to acknowledge their existence. There are some tweaks to the classes and starting gifts. The most notable and most questionable change to me is that no class has a shield that offers 100% physical block like in the other games. Fuck, the Knight class doesn't even have a shield. What horse piss is this, Dark Souls 2? Good thing you can get a shield that does the job without letting some damage through, you know, after fighting a dragon and Ornstein 2.0, but it's a stat-hungry fuck and will probably make you fat roll anyway, so, you know, up to you whether you choose to do that one. Next changes are to death. Firstly, when you die you go hollow and you look gross. I don't think you look as gross as you do in, like, Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3. Actually, I kind of prefer the hollow look in this one. I think it looks... we look more zombie-ish than hollow. It's more interesting to me, and it is a lot easier to turn yourself human again after that. You just use one item and be on your way. However, this positive evolution does come with a bit of a drawback. You see, when you die, you lose 5% of your maximum HP, and you keep losing 5% of your maximum HP every time you die again, until you revert to human, that is, and seriously, that can just fuck off. The problem is, Dark Souls is a series about picking yourself up and trying again when you fail, and this change makes death even more demoralising in all the wrong ways. It's annoying enough to make it most of the way through a difficult level, only to have some scumbag enemy beat you down and force you to drop all your souls and look gross and undead again. Bleh. Bleh. Adding the HP penalty is just fucking the player around, and I won't be convinced otherwise. Anyway, enough ranting on that. What else separates Dark Souls 2 from the series in an unusual and often terrible way? Well, dual-wielding weapons is different and more interesting. You can upgrade catalysts for spells and miracles to make them even more useful, and you can use items that reduce the stats needed to cast spells and miracles. These are all nice changes, and actually they're not worth talking about because they all work pretty well. In fact, the dual-wielding mechanic's pretty badass. Parrying is a bit different because enemies fall down after you parry them and you need to wait a second to do a critical attack. Fuck knows why. Something else new is the fact that enemies disappear if you kill them enough times. It's nice in that it means you'll eventually succeed in a level if you just keep trying, which goes with the Souls theme of picking yourself up and trying again, really. It's quite encouraging in that way. However, it's bad when you consider that you could die at any time, be unable to retrieve your souls, and then have no means of recovering from the loss. I say no way. There is a way. There's an item you can use at a checkpoint that brings an area into its New Game Plus state, which basically respawns all the enemies, usually adds some new ones, puts the boss back in. The trouble is, if you've just died, firstly, you're probably working with that stupid 5% health loss thing, which apparently caps at 50%. I forgot to say that. It caps at 50%. You're not only working with that, but you're working with enemies that are a lot tougher to deal with because they're in their New Game Plus state. Some of them have a greater aggro range. There are usually some extra enemies thrown in here and there, and it's kind of just a big pain in the arse. Like, I don't mind adding the extra challenge for myself, but, you know, if I just need the souls back, it feels like a real dick move to put me through. I also want to talk about how Dark Souls 2 does enemy placements in general. In Dark Souls 1 and 3, it's mostly possible to take on enemies one-on-one, which is largely what the combat system was designed around. There were exceptions, obviously, but then it was mostly possible to lure enemies one by one for a wedgie before moving on to their mates. Dark Souls 2 has this strange addiction. It loves having too many enemies per area, several dudes that will aggro as soon as you're in the same fucking postcode as them. And there is almost always one archer or mage or a few faster enemies to cover the slow ones. You know, it's all well and good to have this balance. It's not all well and good when I'm one dude with a half-broken sword facing off against an entire fucking undead army. Not every area does this, but it is quite common in the early game, and it's quite annoying because it goes against, again, what the combat system's designed for. Whilst I'm shitting on the combat, there's something I should probably mention about it, and it's, well, I saw it as an issue that Dark Souls 1 had in some areas, but not all of them, just in some areas, where certain enemy attacks don't seem to really make your character visibly react to being hit, which that's a problem for someone like me who often plays things like Dark Souls 3 without the HUD active, because I like the unobstructed view. It's annoying to, you know, get tossed around back and forth to, you know, be shaken crazily by a few attacks, but that feedback is, that's critical for me. That's critical for someone like me who loves the no HUD thing, because then you don't suddenly just keel over because apparently you were somehow hit by something and didn't really notice. Even when I'm not doing a no HUD run, it's the fact is I don't want to spend the whole game looking at the top left hand of the screen. I don't. That's just not fun. So Dark Souls 2, maybe, you know, make me react to getting hit by something, you know? I mean, I'm pretty sure a spear going through me should, at the very least, you know, it should make me do something. I should see my character respond to it. I think that's part of the problem, is the combat lacks a certain weight that I've become used to for this sort of thing. Like, even Dark Souls 1 combat felt a bit weightier than this, even if the slower pace of it all was a bit of a pain in the arse. But Dark Souls 3, of course, will have more fluid, more flowing, more fun combat. I was just going for alliteration there, but rather than actual content of review there, so I apologise. But anyway, yeah, my point is, I personally don't like this lack of visible feedback. It just doesn't work for me. It is not a major game-breaking design choice. It's just awkward. Also, there's this floating dude called the Pursuer. He's this big knight in big chunky armour who flies around and tries to kill you. He can get fucked. He's not too hard, his attacks are predictable and easy to dodge, but if he does get a lucky hit on you, he can do massive chunks of damage. He moves way too quickly, and he has this one move that he can perform, which basically curses you, turns you hollow, and gives you the lovely HP loss effect, cause he's an arsehole. What's worse is he appears at random points throughout the game, and he won't disappear from them until you kill him. Even more annoying, if you try to leave the small section of land that he attacks you in, he will disappear no matter how much damage you've done to him, and he won't reappear until you rest again. So if you are just trying to get rid of him from your area for this new game cycle, then it can be a big pain in the arse, because without thinking, if you go too far away from him, you have to start all over again, and there's usually some enemies between him and you anyway. Anyway, I've spent enough time shitting on things that might already give my opinion away. Were I a lesser being, of course. However, here is the M. Night Shyamalan-style twist. I actually really like the game. I don't think it's bad. See, Dark Souls 2, for all its faults, for all its questionable design choices and dull random fucking armor boss fights, it's still a Dark Souls game at its core. When it gets into gear, it can easily rival the other games in the series in terms of quality. Once it quits just throwing random dudes at you and remembers how to do complex level design and clever enemy placement, it shines like a fucking diamond in orbit around David Bowie's glowing corpse. It just doesn't let itself do this enough. It's less grabbing than the other games, and I could go months at a time without ever thinking about it, only to return and try it out again and realise I've got no fucking idea how to move forward. It's a big game, you see, and it's all too easy to get yourself lost for hours having no idea which way you're supposed to be going. You're looking for 4 Lord Souls for most of the game because they'll in some way help with your undead curse. I'm not entirely sure why you think that. Some lady in a green cloak said to, and you're basically just going to listen to her. And eventually you get caught up in the cycle of fire and dark, which you were warned about by the old ladies at the start. Though this whole confusing gameplay thing is probably intentional. I say probably, it's definitely intentional. Those 4 ladies at the beginning of the game, they even said that one day you'd stand before the kingdom without really knowing why, and that is true. That's true. I did get to Drangleic Castle and I had no fucking idea why I was there, or who was there, or what was going on. I will admit, even with this being an intentional design choice, it can still be bloody irritating. Sorry, this was supposed to be a praise section, and for what it's worth, I do kind of like this story and its structure on some level, because annoying as it was, it felt right for what the game wanted and what it was trying to achieve. After all, you are just an accursed undead who is losing their mind and memories over and over again, not sure who they are or where they're meant to be, and you've got this sense of loss and disorientation, which is well reflected in the game's design, and in retrospect, it's clever design. It is very clever design. That feeling of loss and confusion just weighs into everything. It's part of it. You kind of needed to be there for Dark Souls 2 to be Dark Souls 2. Also, that whole loss and confusion thing I just mentioned, it kind of works with the community aspects of a Dark Souls game. Let me say this, I do not envy the poor fucks who had to figure these games out by themselves before they had an online wiki to ask for help. I can't tell you the amount of times I had to go online and ask for advice and scour wiki pages, and in most games that would be quite annoying. I've even been quite annoyed having to do that in certain games, but not with Dark Souls for whatever reason. Because this sort of feels like an aspect of Dark Souls design. It gives me this true sense of being an adventurer learning from the experiences of those who've walked the path already. More so than other games where I just felt like I was a little brother asking the big brother for help because the big bad video game was too hard. I heard the term water cooler game a while ago. I forget from whom. I spend an ungodly amount of time on social media and YouTube. Probably a safe bet to say it was one of those places I heard it from, but I think this description fits Dark Souls to a T. Most players, they've got a very different experience with the game. They develop their own playstyle and fashion, they find the best way of dealing with the obstacles that the game throws at them. Dark Souls 2 shines the Souls game in these areas in hindsight. It can be a tad annoying to get lost for hours, but others have made the journey before and their knowledge is invaluable. Maybe I just get annoyed because I'm not the one with the knowledge this time around, and I have to ask for help. See, I consider myself very well versed in Dark Souls 3 as a game. I have guided many a player to success in that game. Dark Souls 2, not so much. I'm just another clueless fucker with a pointy stick who has no goddamn idea what they're doing. There are some other praiseworthy things. I like how the game offers you extra healing items and teaches you to be less reliant on Estus, although in hindsight that feels like it's only because Estus itself in the game is really slow to take effect and leaves you really vulnerable while drinking, whereas the life gems you can crush while moving. I like how torches work in the game as well. You light one at a bonfire and you can use it to light up an area, or to set light to other torches and candles to illuminate your surroundings as you explore. I mean, it would be a cool design choice, you know, if you weren't free to just adjust the brightness on your screen. Fucking spoil sport. I mean, I did the same thing. I'm insulting you for something I've done. And in that area, that mechanic is not used to its full potential, but it's a neat idea. Again, it's another one of those things that makes you feel like a proper explorer. You have to sacrifice your shield for a bit of light to see where the fuck you're going. I like the vast array of equipment, even if weapons are a bit less sturdy this time around. The already questionable weapon degradation system is in the game again, only this time it's in fucking overdrive, and my trusty Morningstar is about as reliable as a store brand wine glass, which is just dumb. It's just fucking dumb if you'll pardon my overly academic wording here. I like how this game introduced to the series the ability to turn souls into boss weapons really easily, even if the dude you need to find to do this is hidden. I say hidden, he's a statue, blocking a bonfire, in a room that it's really easy to miss, in a location that you're not even certain you have to be in half the time. But again, once you've got him, it's a lot easier to just do the thing. You don't have to go through the rigmarole of upgrading a weapon to a certain point, then turning it into a boss weapon and having to begin the upgrade process all over again. See, I got back to doing the praise bit. That's what I was saying. That's what the whole thing was. I'm doing praise. I'm not complaining about the game. I should point out that this level of experimentation that Dark Souls 2 has is both its upside and its greatest flaw of all. Let's face it, not all of these experiments it tried really worked out. By the time of Dark Souls 3, we still do see the influence that Dark Souls 2 had on the design of the game, but there were many things that just wouldn't make the cut, in some cases for some fairly obvious reasons. It introduced the 4 ring slots. Dark Souls 3 kept this, that's good. The ability to teleport from bonfire to bonfire from the beginning, it kept this too, that's also good, I liked it. It also brought with it the idea of weapon durability resetting at bonfires, which was nice, although I still think we don't need the item durability, it's just a fucking problem the game invented for itself for no reason that doesn't do anything for it. By Dark Souls 3, the weapons are sturdy enough that you never really run into a problem with them. Just remove weapon degradation, you don't need it. It also introduced a proper hub area. Majula is my favourite hub world in a From Software title. It's this depressing, decaying little village with merchants and a gorgeous gorgeous view of the sea and a perpetually setting sun, and it's connected to several game areas. Sometimes I just go there, stand overlooking the ocean, listening to the subtle background music and contemplating the events of the world around me. I really like doing that. That's a part of the game for me. That's a part of the atmosphere. I am less keen on how the game introduced the idea of needing an NPC to level you up, though I suppose it suits Dark Souls 2 well. It makes Majula feel like your safe haven, where you can go to buy things and rest and level up before beginning your adventure again. So on that note, I kind of like it. Maybe just by the time of Dark Souls 3 I don't like it so much, because Firelink Shrine is just so disconnected from the rest of the world. It's just sort of flow breaking to go back there. At least Majula feels like it still exists in the same basic location. I should also talk about the online. It's basically the same as the first game, but with some missing features. Firstly, no password for matchmaking, which can sod off. Okay, I know the password was a product of Bloodborne more than anything else, and it was only really added to the remaster, but it should have been implemented a lot sooner. Secondly, and more importantly, in my mind, is there's no easy way to choose between online and offline mode. Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, all of them offer the choice to go offline, which I usually take because I love the more oppressing feeling I get from taking on the world by myself, and more to the point, I get to avoid the invaders who can fuck the fuck off. I just don't care for invaders, alright? I don't hate the PvP, I'll occasionally even do an arena match, which I think is fine, but having someone just break into my game world to murder me, it's kind of a fucking rude thing and annoying thing to have to deal with. Anyway, enough of my whinging and whining about this part of the game I don't like very much. Let's whinge and whine about other things I don't like very much. Oh wait, no, we're not done yet, because the online mode is still kind of shit in this game. There are some NPC invasions that will only occur in offline mode, and to access them, you need to manually disconnect from the internet, which is a pain in the ass to do. I know the games are built around this sense of community, I even talked it up earlier, but it's nice to be able to make the choice for yourself at the beginning, without having to pull out your Ethernet cable or disconnect from your Wi-Fi. Like I've said, I play these games for the lonely sense of oppression they offer and the deep atmosphere. Other players often ruin it for me with their ghosts running around and the stupid messages that are just doing the whole, oh, try finger butthole, yeah, it was funny the first time, not the 99th time. And then there are all the bloodstains that really fuck with the environment design, which is otherwise really good. I will engage with the online features, I have no problem with them existing at all, don't get me wrong. I like, summoning help if I'm having a really hard time, and I like helping people if they're having a really hard time. I'm not against it existing. Again, I would just like it to be easier to opt in and out of Dark Souls 2, for fuck's sake. As mad as I probably sound, Dark Souls 2 is still a very good game and a very interesting title in the franchise. I said at the beginning that it's comparatively weak as a Dark Souls title. I still think that's true. I might like it, but I can't ignore the problems it has. I've seen plenty of people make the joke. You might know the one, the Dark Souls 2 bad joke. And whilst a lot of this is more tongue-in-cheek than real hatred, at least from what I've seen, there is still plenty of anger to go around, and I can't really fault those who dislike the changes made. I do, however, respect the game for trying new things though. There are too few sequels in this world of ours to big franchises that really want to mix up the formula and offer a new, interesting experience to its player base. And it's a hard thing to do while sticking to the core concepts that made your game fantastic to begin with. Dark Souls 2 has a lot of issues. I've said most of them already, and whilst I mostly respect the game and its attempts to spice things up, even if they don't always work out for the best, I have to say that all of these little annoyances that I've mentioned, well, I say little, some of them were big, most of them pale in comparison to the big complaint. See, Dark Souls 2, after a point, it just stops engaging. After a while, I always find myself playing this game differently. What I mean is, I go from loving and savouring every juicy moment to just eventually half-heartedly playing it in a almost sleep-like trance where I'm barely registering what's going on. The game does have its moments, like when you finally meet the king of the land and learn the terrible truth, or when you go back in time to witness the memories of others, seeing a war that ravaged a kingdom between giants and man, or when you first set your eyes on the castle and your firekeeper woman is standing there ready to talk to you. Oh shit, I forgot to talk about her. I forgot to bring up the firekeeper lady, the Emerald Herald in this case, who is your firekeeper for the game. I didn't mention her properly, did I? I should mention her now. You level up at her and she is connected to the story of the kingdom in a rather significant way, and more importantly, she feels like she's more of a character and has more agency than any previous or later firekeeper would. I also like her voice and her outfit. I actually just kind of like her. I think she's neat. Even if it is annoying to have to hear her say her same fucking lines every time you just want to level up.
Bearer of the curse, seek misery, for misery will lead you to You will never meet the king with a soul so...
But that's a problem that any game has when you tie level ups to important NPCs. Anyway, I was saying that after a while Dark Souls 2 just stops being the usual bucket of Dark Souls fun. If you're me, you'll hit a point where you turn the game off one night and go to bed and then just sort of forget that it exists for months. I do that. That's what I do. I'm not left feeling bad or particularly sour at the end of it. I'm not having the most amazing time. I'm just ungrabbed, really. It becomes a very weak experience after a certain point. You get to a point and you think, yeah, okay, I might come play with this tomorrow, and then you don't. Again, that's just me. I say you, that's mostly me. I'd be okay with another full remaster of this game, mind, maybe fix the issues. I know Scholar of the First Sin is the remaster, but another one wouldn't hurt. Maybe you could get things right this time. So Dark Souls 2, in summary, is a very brave attempt on From Software's part to spice up the Dark Souls series, and whilst it had plenty of shortcomings, it did introduce plenty of cool features and it has its own strengths that make it its own really good game. As I've said, I still like the game. Quite a lot, I might add. Even the most questionable Dark Souls game is still a Dark Souls game, and there's still plenty of fun to be had. I mean, Christ, I bought this on both Xbox One and PS4, so it must be doing something right if I wanted a backup copy in case my PlayStation died on me. It's done that before. I mean, the last time it did that was because I spilled milk on the fucking thing. It's a hard game to recommend, not just because it's Dark Souls, which by its very design is not for everyone, but it's more the way in which it differs from being a Dark Souls title, which is what makes it really difficult for me to say, yeah, you should try this game out. It can be, they can all really turn the fan base off, and as I say, I understand. I really do. Let's look at it not as a Dark Souls game for a minute. What is it if it isn't a Dark Souls game? Well, it's still a good action RPG with a competent background narrative. It doesn't really reach the same heights of excellence as the other games in the series, at least not consistently, but it did lay a lot of groundwork for what was to come. This was supposed to be me separating Dark Souls from it. I couldn't really do that, apparently. I mean, on its own, it's a fine game. Compared to the other Dark Souls titles, it's weak, it's the worst one of them all. I don't like using the word worst in this circumstance, but it is definitely the weakest Dark Souls game I've ever played. But again, it's still a pretty fun game. And as I said, I respect the hell out of it. I mean, I really like it even, not just respect it, I like it. Dark Souls 2, you are still worthy, my friend, even if your sisters are hotter and Dark Souls 3 does that thing with her tongue. Thanks for watching, be sure to check out the other content available on the channel, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. You can also support the channel on Patreon from as little as £1 a month. Check out the link in the description. Thanks in advance, and we'll see you next time.